It is June 27th, I believe. The sun is setting here on the orchard, and I wanted to come out, do an update, maybe just focus here on the vertical axis. It's been in place about 3 years. Some of these trees are rather new to the vertical axis, filling in spots. This is a Sweet 16 planted last year, and it has 4 spotless apples on it this season, and I am as excited as I can be about those. That tree's about 7 foot tall. Looks really nice. Here's a date I brought in from the garden this year, so it's first year growth. Here's a Bevan's favorite. It's been here 3 years. It's got some fruit on it. Looks good. Fruit doesn't have too many scratches on it. A little bit of curculio damage, and maybe even a little bit of apple maggot here and there. Had tremendous rain this spring in the last 2 weeks, about 11 inches. So it's been tough to keep sprays. One apple on that Bevan's favorite. Deer got to most of them. This is a mystery tree. It was supposed to be a Harrison. I don't know if it is. I've remarked on it before. This is its last year. It had quite a bit of fruit on it, and I think most of them fell off. But I'm going to graft on to one of the stump sprouts coming up out of the ground next spring. And here's an Orleans Renette. It's a russety apple, as you can tell. And quite a bit of fruit on that tree. It's made it to the top wire now. Here's a Williams Pride. And I am taking pride in my Williams Pride. Good looking apples. There's probably no more than a dozen on this tree. 3rd year it's been in the system here. Another one here, and I believe there's only 1 fruit on this tree. But he's a good looking rascal. And those are early ripening fruits. So I'll get some of those here within a month, I'm guessing. This tree is supposed to be a Granny Smith. I don't believe it is. It's got fruit on it this year. We'll find out what it is. If I had to guess, I'd say it's Golden Delicious. Here is, and also I don't think this is a dwarf tree. It was sold as a dwarf tree. I bought it at a box store and stuck it in here, and definitely looks like a semi-dwarf at this point. So there's going to be some pruning have to go in place with that one. Here is a Gala. This is a stark crimson Gala. Got some fruit on it this year. Gala is fireblight prone, so hopefully they can make it in the orchard under the new fireblight regime I have. It's got some fruit on it. Its twin here does not have any fruit on it this year. Now we start a line of we start a line of, well, I'm going to have to find a tag. Cousin to Golden Delicious. You can tell I'm showing my age now. It's got good fruit on it. A lot of these trees made fruit this year, despite some fire blight that was cut out of them. Pruned pretty hard in the off season. Grimes Golden, that's what I'm looking for. These are Grimes Golden. But the fruit looks good. Pretty much undamaged by any insects at this point. These trees have all just hit the top wire, so it's about 7 to 8 feet. There's fruit here. You can see a broken branch. Had some pretty good winds come through here. Hopefully that'll make it to harvest, because I'd like to get every one I can off of these trees. More Grimes Goldens. Here we go. Grimes Golden. I think this was a Grimes Golden that I cut off low because of fire blight on the main stem. And it is suckering up from the ground. And I think I'm going to graft a crabapple variety onto there just for the cross-pollination here in this part of the orchard. Another Grimes Golden with fruit. And the last Grimes Golden with a couple of fruits. Now we start in with 5 wine saps. And the wine saps are a lot less vigorous and it was obvious when they were planted they were less vigorous. So next year they'll have fruit. This year's pretty much a bust. They were pruned pretty hard with some fireblight issues in the off season. There you can see one of my arch nemesis here, aphids. They're going to get a spraying here just before dark this evening as the sun gets down and the wind dies down. You see that wine sap is nearly probably 9 feet tall at this point. These two on the end were fire blighted in the main stem, so I cut them off and I grafted. The grafts did not take. So we have here new growth coming up. And just as it got to the wire, my friendly deer came by and munched on them for me. And here at the very end is an empire. No fruit this year. It's a young tree. Just needs to grow this year. So that's the tall spindle. This is the 3rd year. Without the fire blight, we would see more fruit this year. And I anticipate next year we'll have a lot of fruit on this vertical axis in year 4. So, any lessons learned with the vertical axis? Initially I had taken 2x4s and ripped them down the middle and made stakes out of them for each tree. And it didn't work. The stakes just, even though they were in the ground a good 18 inches to 2 feet, they pushed up out of the ground with the freezing and thawing, the rains, and just didn't work out good. So I pulled them all out and decided to put in more wire. And I put in a few extra posts. Here's one here. I put in 3 new posts. I concreted those in for added support. These semi-dwarfs here, got a couple in training. This is another one my deer visited just the other night. It was Freedom, grafted to Liberty. It's going to be alright. It'll just have to start regrowing again. And there's a Fuji. Fuji's a disease magnet, so I'm still thinking about this tree. It's good for now, but I'm not sure about its longevity in this orchard. And down the end I've grafted an empire on what was a mat-free tree. Liberty, as usual, looks very nice and has fruit. Most of the fruit is damaged from plum curculio. For the most part, the damage is moderate, and not every fruit is affected. But hopefully from this point we can avoid any further damage. I don't see any codling moth damage, sawfly, no, apple maggot to a minimum. What I did do today was I came through and you can see some of the branches on the ground. I chopped these out for a little summer pruning just to open up the light in the tree. And you know, I'm no professional, but it's my understanding that if you're going to do that, you do it right here at late June, and that's the best time to grow fruit spurs in these trees for next year when you get that extra light into there. So a lot of fruit on that Liberty tree. Again, as usual, Golden Delicious, I think I've said before, just hasn't fruited very well. 2 years in a row now, and you better watch it, because I'm very tempted to make this entire row Liberties. The Red Delicious that was grafted over to Liberty is looking good. It did have some deer come through earlier in the year and nip on it, but it's okay now. I lost one of my 2 scions coming from the top, so I didn't want to lose the other one. It was in a windstorm, it came out, and I braced the other shoot with a stick and some electrical tape. Should be alright. And here is the Liberty that was grafted last year, and it's growing very well. It was grafted on a Jonathan tree on M7 stock, and this tree will have fruit on it next year. Japanese beetle damage. If you see that on any of your leaves, that is Japanese beetle damage. meet their maker this evening. And I didn't do any of the summer pruning last year because of fire blight. I'm not so worried about it this year. I don't see fire blight. I've snipped out some pieces here and there, but not an epidemic. So I'm not so worried about that, but I did put some agromycin in my spray for this evening to spray those new cuts. Similar to if you would have a hailstorm and you opened up the tree to some fire blight infection, you can spray agromycin, and that's what I'm going to do after cutting off those shoots. So that's a quick look here at the vertical axis in year 4, and there will be fruit this year.